So I am so excited about this panel for a number of reasons. One, I love brick and mortar retail. And all during the pandemic, I was fighting with people who was like, "Oh, brick and mortar's dead." I'm like, we're human beings. Like we want to connect with people. Brick and mortar retail is never going to be dead. And the first thing we saw after the pandemic was people sort of streaming back into the stores. Mm-hmm. But I do think that, especially in the US market, sort of that wholesale relationship and the options, especially small brands have, it's super competitive. And with that competitiveness requires a very big budget to compete. I think the strategic partnership between JCPenney and 13 Lune sort of ushered in this new era of beauty retail where representation sort of surpasses just percentages. And true indie brands have a retail partner with national scale and exposure, which I think, I don't know, I'm gonna date myself, but 25 years ago, you could launch in Barney's and self-fund that, right? Today, sort of having a national footprint, I don't know how you self-fund it. So I think what you guys are creating is so necessary for small brands. It is a path to scale that is doable. Mm-hmm. Michelle, when you decided to reinvent the beauty category at JCPenney, what was the vision you were working against and how has it evolved in the execution?
Well, thanks. Good to be here. Thank you all. The vision hasn't changed. I think we've learned a lot. But, one of the things, our purpose is to celebrate and serve America's diverse working families. And if we were honest with ourselves about our beauty business prior, we weren't doing that as well. And so, it really was to have more choice for our customers of brands that they saw themselves in, more choice for our customers of range of prices, and ultimately just a very welcoming beauty environment. In the beauty business, it's so interesting. We talk about inclusion in beauty, but we make it a very exclusionary experience. And so it wasn't just the brands we wanted to carry, the level of diversity we wanted to have, but it was also to have everyone feel, whether they're wearing grubby sweats or whatever, to feel like they were valued in a beauty space. And that is probably one of the biggest things we heard, is how many people feel like the industry wants them to be part of it, but then they are judged when they walk into a physical brick and mortar, especially in a beauty environment, and you don't look the part. And the whole point is that whether it's skin or anyone should have that. So it's really trying to break that and not have it be exclusionary.
Mm-hmm. So, Nyakio, 13 Lune launched in December 2020, and in just 3 years, you've totally shaken up beauty retail.
Thank you.
How is the concept? It's only been 3 years, but I feel like the brand and the concept has evolved and matured.
100%.
So, from your view, is it everything you sort of set out to build?
Yes. It's definitely everything that we set out to build and more. When we conceived 13 Lune as a beauty retail concept, it really came out of a heartbreaking time at a really heightened moment of a racial reckoning, the most heightened moment of a racial reckoning in our lifetime. And as someone who had been a beauty founder and really understood as a Black female founder that access to capital could be quite challenging once you get to shelf, affording to be at shelf. And when I found myself on all of those listicles, top Black owned to shop and follow, what I found very interesting is that there was this discovery of brands that I had never even heard of, even though I'd been in the industry in premium skincare for 20 years. And I knew when we co-created this platform, we would always be omni-channel, but it was a global pandemic. Stores were closed. We definitely didn't believe that we would get there as quickly as we did. But I think, in partnership with JCPenney, very focused on hyper-inclusivity, I think when I say it's what I expected it to be, but it's become so much more, is that the reception globally for 13 Lune and what we're building, and the amount of inbound, because we are telling global beauty secrets and beauty stories within our four walls and on our platform. I didn't believe that that would happen so quickly, but what it's done is afford us the opportunity to tell even more, global beauty stories, whether it be here in the US and, what's to come and beyond.
Michelle, the relationship between JCPenney and 13 Lune is interesting, and I think, at least for me, was a little unexpected because you have JCPenney, a 120-year-old retailer, and 13 Lune had pretty much just launched. So it seems...
I think it's just launched.
Yeah, it
60
seems
days.
like a really risky bet for a heritage retailer. What was the impetus for the partnership?
Well, it's interesting. We are 122 years old now,
22.
so we're aging very well. We use very good skincare.
Google lied to me.
But, we actually, and Nyakio and I talk about this all the time, like, we actually we are a startup for beauty too. So we had a beauty business for a long time in a different model. And we had beauty back even in the 70s and 60s in a different model. But we actually had a startup mentality with our beauty business. And when we met Nyakio and Patrick, it was literally like, it was everything you could imagine that we couldn't have done without it. So it was like two startups coming together with belief in the same mission of what needs to happen. It just felt really right. But it was like, hi, let's do it. I mean, it was fast.
It was fast. Really
well,
fast.
I mean, Nyakio, I know other than sort of an immediate physical outpost and scale, you actually have a very personal relationship with JCPenney. I only know that because we did a panel a couple years ago and you shared that.
Yeah, so I grew up in Norman, Oklahoma. I was born in New York. My parents were Kenyan, but I did spend most of my life growing up in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, there was only one beauty department store at the time that my mom could find her foundation shade. And, it was the closest salon to our neighborhood where it was a trusted space for me that my mom could take me to get my hair done for special occasions. There was a photo studio. But I would say the one thing I always felt as a child stepping into JCPenney is that I felt seen. And the impact that can have on you as a young person, and obviously it was foreshadowing for future events, but it was someplace that I really truly enjoyed being, because unlike many department stores, especially growing up in a place like Oklahoma, somewhat the South, it was just a place that I felt that the people that worked there looked like me, that they welcomed my mom and myself and my family in such a way that it had this sort of secret sauce. And it was only, fast forward to 3 years ago when this partnership came together and I started to read all about James Cash Penney. And
it is a fascinating
It's fascinating.
history.
I mean, this man, 122 years ago, imagine what was going on in this country 122 years ago, built a department store based on the golden rule of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, and went into segregated communities, rural communities where people weren't necessarily being seen. And that was 122 years ago. And so for me, it really, that sort of connectivity and coming together in the partnership, I remembered those times that were really significant in my childhood, not really knowing that it would be a full circle moment at the time.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, who is the JCPenney customer today?
Yeah. Well, I said it in our purpose. We actually, our purpose is celebrate and serve America's diverse working families. And that is exactly who the customer is. We are the fabric of America. In every town, city, rural, suburbs, it's just, normal working families who actually have every same dreams of looking fabulous, smelling fabulous, dressing fabulous. So that is our customer base, is the fabric of America, which is changed. We talk about James Cash Penney, first person to give a credit card to a woman, right, as a retailer. But what America is today is actually this insanely amazing, beautiful melting pot of incredible working families. And that's who we've always loved and who's always loved us. And so it actually feels like it's our time even more so today.
Right. Who shop premium beauty, by the way. It's interesting. Obviously I think that, the proof is in the pudding, and the partnership has been so successful, and 13 Lune has had such rapid growth that there was this sort of undertone, I think, in the industry that, if you were serving America's working, diverse, amazing families, that somehow that wouldn't resonate to wanting to shop across many levels of beauty, including extreme premium. It's fascinating because at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers of what Black and brown women specifically spend on beauty, we also knew the customer was there. And so that by having that differentiation, but still offering what was desired by this community has also really been amazing. And to then also see through this partnership, and 90% of our brands that we carry are created by BIPOC founders who make products for everyone, how people gravitate when they feel seen and considered and see themselves reflected at shelf, not just from what we're serving them, but by the people behind the brands as well.
It builds on itself at that point.
Yes,
there's this
absolutely.
need, you're serving it, and then it just becomes sort of a growth story, really.
Absolutely.
You guys, I'm just gonna. I know it's hard to hear. So there's a room in the back. If you guys want to network, have meetings, if you could take the conversations back there, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought.
I know. I'm sorry. I was losing mine as well.
No worries. No, but anyway, I think that's where sort of the magic and the secret sauce of this partnership of everything that we're building at 13 Lune, by telling these global beauty stories, by showing our guests that possibilities. I think in this industry right now, there's a lot of sort of deterring stats and things that make it hard when you are a woman, a female founder, a founder of color, that sometimes we get a lot of the this is why you can't. And, having an experience where you're serving a guest that they do better see themselves reflected at shelf, they see themselves considered. And by the way, that Black and brown people, debunking the myth that Black and brown people only make products for ourselves as opposed to making products for everyone, having that in real life space and experience in store that comes to life through merchandising, both in our 13 Lune at JCP stores and JCPenney Beauty, in our flagship, on our platform. Beauty is universal, and it's deeply an emotional experience. And I think that's the other reason that it's gone beyond our wildest dreams, is that we're really resonating from an emotional standpoint, both with our BIPOC and ally brands.
Yeah. I mean, the barrier to entry in today's retail landscape, it's quite high. Without investment, it becomes increasingly difficult for indie beauty brands to reach scale. There was a time where people self-funded businesses. It was really hard to do that today.
Absolutely.
Those stories are sort of kind of few and far between. You're in 600 points of distribution. So that's still a lot of points of distribution for indie beauty brands with limited resources to support.
Yeah.
So how have you built in sort of the infrastructure for them to succeed? Because I think sometimes people want indie beauty brands, they put them on the shelf and then they leave them to their own devices, and they just don't have the resources to be successful.
Right. I mean, I would say, having a beauty brand for many years with my first business, and getting really excited when I got those opportunities. And I did get those opportunities to launch into national retail, and the devastating gut punch it was once I got there to realize that I couldn't afford to do it when I, set out on this venture to create the retailer that I wished I'd always had. I wanted our founders to be able to sleep at night. And so we are not your typical retailer. We really work with our brands from a mentorship capacity. We work with them on factoring. We work with them on generous terms. We help them get to shelf however we can. And we make sure that once they get there, that we are there to deeply protect themselves and their brands so that they can really focus on what's important, which is bringing their community to learn about them and discover their products. It's not always easy. I mean, we are a startup as well, but I think where we have really achieved something that I, wished I had had, is that we're there in, the hard times, and we're there in the great times. And I think what Patrick and I really try to instill in them is the discipline. Some of our brands were doing $17K a year when I slid into their DMs in 2020. Hi, I'm starting this website and I want to, and now they're closing out 2022 at over 2 million. Some of our top selling brands, there's a lot of excitement that comes their way. And I think in my experience with my first brand, and even with this brand that I just recently launched, discipline is key, and you can't be everywhere at once. And it's deeply important to go deep with your retailer. Our goal is for them, to be a catalyst to help them build generational wealth and inspire the next generation of founders. But what's really exciting is to see them not make the mistakes I made, and to be in partnership with a retailer that is deeply committed to making sure that they do win and that they do have the tools they need to grow.
I mean, on that front, Michelle, technology seems to be an integral part into the beauty equation at JCPenney. How did you approach the integration of technology into the consumer experience? Because a lot of technology, it's a little gimmicky.
Right.
And my favorite technology is the sort of invisible technology that works in the background to support the beauty advisor to do their job.
Yes.
So
yes.
I know you have some of that.
Yeah, it's a good. Well, listen, I will tell you, learned a lot and did not do it. I don't think we embraced the technology and what we really wanted it for. And I think oftentimes, like you said, when you say technology, and we have amazing technology for skin matching and color matching, and it's great. But I think we went straight to what's the technology versus how to use technology that works best for our beauty advisors. Most important, if they can use technology to be educated at all times and to help the customer, that's the way we should use it, which, we did out the gate. And then the other thing that Kayla and I were talking earlier, using technology in a simple way of using, videos online, social media, which is all in our customer's mind, that's technology. We want to go straight to like big T technology, but we're utilizing technology now in ways that the experience you get with someone in person, we can get that to you through website and social. So everything that we're doing, that we're using technology to show how to, is by far the best thing we could have done. And anything that we're doing to get education into our advisors' hands through technology is the best thing we've ever done. So I would say it's much more customer and advisor focused than when we started. It was like, let's do some cool technology, right? And that's the hard thing. Sometimes the best solution is not the sexiest.
Right. Right.
Well, and to that point, experiential and immersive are sort of those talking points. They're the retail buzzwords. I think they're very, very hard to execute on. And in terms of online versus offline, that human connection that you mentioned is the key differentiator. It doesn't matter what technology you employ online. It's still not the same thing as like walking into a store, having a conversation, discovering you're using the wrong foundation, which I learned 2 weeks ago at Sephora. But Michelle, how are you delivering on the consumer's expectation for these offline immersive expectations?
Well, I mean, Nyakio knows this, and she mentioned it. One thing people don't know about us, and that I would say we are literally, finally unlocking. I keep saying finally because I think when we first started, we're like, we're going to do all these things, and we're finally unlocking it. We not only have 608 beauty stores, we have 640 full-service salons. Believe it or not, we have one of the largest full-service salons in the country. And so this unlock of immersive experience is the power of those two things, the power of someone getting their hair done at our salon and hearing and understanding, and we're doing 15-minute services now all the time. And they're extraordinary. 15-minute service in the salon, 15-minute service in beauty, where people can be in the salon and like, hey, do you want to try out, the new relevant lipstick or whatever it might be she just launched.
I know.
Amazing. So I think we're using it to actually bring together our businesses and do that kind of experience. And so not about, let's get you in a chair and make sure you're made up and buy a bunch of stuff, but truly let's immerse you in something and show you the possibilities, no pressure.
Right. And I think we definitely are very excited about, the events and bringing people into store and people, it's community. Beauty is community. It's something that we really practice within our flagship store, which is on Larchmont Boulevard, if any of you want to visit. But we have events every single week. The space is designed to be a place that people want to hang out. And to Michelle's point, we have Damone Roberts Salon, so people are getting their eyebrows done. And then as they're waiting for their tint, they're shopping, there's great music. And I think, beauty in that way, beauty stores don't have to be quiet and super bright light. They should feel like a place that you want to be, and you want to be in community with others.
I mean, I kind of feel like as a beauty industry, I think we're obsessed with technology more than the consumers are.
Absolutely.
I think the consumers just want to go into a store,
And play.
have someone say hello,
Yes.
acknowledge them, have a conversation.
Yes.
And if technology supports that, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't think the technology as front of mind for them as it is for us.
Right. Or, it's make it simple. This is what we were talking about right before we came on stage. Like the power of a how-to, it doesn't have to be, complicated.
Right.
If you want to do a winged eyeliner, just show me how to do that. If it's a screen in the store, if it's through your social media, understanding what's in the product, speaking to the ingredients. I mean, when I look at Gen Z, i.e. my children that live in my house, and the way that they understand what's in a product, what the product is packaged in, what they want to shop for. They want to shop for good. They want to shop for sustainability. They want to know how to use it. They don't want 500 steps. I mean, it's the best market research ever, is having teenage children that spend their own money on beauty. But it's important that the technology is there, so it simplifies things as opposed to overcomplicating it in this space.
Well, I mean, I could sit here for another 30 minutes and talk to you guys, but I want to open it up to the audience. Are there any questions? No questions, really?
Seriously?
Okay.
No, is it not on?
You can
Check.
Oh,
There you go.
awesome.
That's right.
Thank you. Hi, Brittany Blackamore. I'm a founder, and my product is a finalist for Best Beauty Breakthrough. So I started my business. I'm only selling D2C right now. And I would love to hear your feedback on how to approach buyers and merchandisers, because I really want to get my product on the shelf in Sephora and Ulta and other places.
Right.
What's the best way to do that?
Yes, you're asking me, I'm assuming. And okay.
I'd love to hear from both of you.
So I actually shared this with someone earlier. I'm not going to say it's easy. I have a mantra in life, and I give myself an A many weeks and a D other weeks, but then I catch up and try to get back to the A. There is something magical that was not around when anyone started, and it's called LinkedIn. It's this amazing thing. So actually, there are brands in our beauty space that are there because they had the courage to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And so I think, utilize the resources out there, and a simple note to someone on LinkedIn and says, hey, can you talk? And it's not always going to happen, but I do try to. I say to my team all the time, let's try to at least reach back out to anyone who reaches out, because you never know. It's that one person out of whatever. But I think, you got to have the courage. If you have insights, but I would say just have the courage to reach out. You'll get to someone. And, hopefully so. But
yes, I agree. At 13 Lune, we have a website that's brands@13lune.com. We now have a merchandising team, not just the one person that used to check all those emails. And it's great. And they read every single email. If they're interested, they'll have you send samples. They'll give feedback. Saying no for me is very hard, so I had to turn that over to the merchandising team. But they're really, really great at giving brands feedback about their packaging or, understanding of their formulations. How are you describing your point of difference? Once you, I think the other thing that's really powerful, and community is a big thing, is being able to reach out to other founders that sell into that retailer, ask them about their experience, Potentially, they're going to make an introduction for you. Sign up for all the accelerators. You know, I'm a mentor for Tower 28. I've done it for Glossier. I've done it for Credo. Those accelerators are really great entry points into meeting different retailers, and we'll be creating our own soon as well. But ask for help. Ask, you know, your friends for help. Reach out. You can connect, as Michelle said, with buyers and buying teams, but mind your manners. I always say that's very important. You know, if they don't follow up right away, it's because there was probably hundreds of emails in the box, so exercise patience. But, you know, after a certain amount of time and, you know, follow up and then try all the different avenues. But I really am a big proponent for people applying to all the different accelerators because it's just the best way to learn retail in and out. It's so much more than just getting to shelf. And it's a really great opportunity.
I mean, sometimes it's also just timing, right?
Yeah.
So retailers also have sort of cycles, especially physical retailers, that they launch brands. Where online it can happen sort of a little bit easier all year round.
Yes.
But, you know, also sometimes it's, you know, there's a category where there's just not enough room on the shelf. So sometimes it's also not it's the timing, not the brand or the founder. So you also can't give up. You have to keep trying. And the timing might not just be right.
Right. And I mean, I've had so many no's in my life, but I always say that redirection is protection and that you will find that perfect synergy of where you're meant to be to take your business to the next level or to learn the greatest lessons. And so definitely put yourself out there.
Okay.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi.
My name
This is one of our grant founders. He came all the way from Australia to be with us.
Amazing.
My name is Amadou. I'm from Woolly Grooming, so we make Australian-made vegan hairstyling products for both men and women. I just had a very quick and a bit broad question to ask of you. What kind of advice would you give to brand founders who, in terms of breaking through any kind of misperceptions or misunderstandings of how their brand is positioned? So to give you a bit of context, with my hair products, people generally may assume, oh, it's only for black women and men. It's only for that kind of curly hair. But what I find is when I tell them it's actually for all hair types, hair is hair at the end of the day. Curly hair
skin
is
skin.
curly
I find
hair.
myself saying that a lot. Yeah.
And so I guess my question is, what advice would you provide for the founders to be able to get that breakthrough and being able to help people understand that there is more to this brand's abilities to actually go abroad in various areas?
I mean, that's a great question. You know, we are a retailer that 90% is, you know, we say BIPOC for all. And what I think is important is this is where technology is great, you know, using your social media platforms to show what people see they do. So when you think about, you know, what imagery are you using, who are you using, you know, as people to do tutorials on your sites, on your social, even in your pitch deck or a retail deck, as you're approaching retailers, make sure that you're laying out your diverse consumer, laying out, making it real simple. This is my customer. We serve this demographic. This is who we believe, you know, resonates. These are the stats that we have. Here's our testing on this different types of, you know, 2C, 4C, et cetera. You know, just show, because sadly, people make assumptions. And it's silly because most beauty rituals and ingredients that we use across all brands come from marginalized parts of the world and, you know, people of color. So, you know, but just show, do. And that's what's great about TikTok and Instagram and, you know, that you can really just be like pumping out content that consistently shows exactly who your consumer is. And make sure that when you are approaching retailers, I mean, I would be so bold as to say, I am not a textured hair care brand. I'm a bioscience brand. I'm a blah, blah, blah. You know, this is for lead with your story so that no bad assumptions can be made about what the authenticity is of your brand.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm the founder and CEO of Forgotten Skincare. And I'm really proud that our products are actually on the shelf at 13 Lune. So yay, 13 Lune. So I noticed that you recently launched Relevant Skincare with Nicole Richie as the face of the brand, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that decision to make that partnership.
Yeah, so I launched skincare starting in 2021. I just recently launched cosmetics 2 days ago. My skincare is at the heart of everything I do. That was why I started my first brand based on family beauty secrets around skincare from Kenya. And I just believe in a skin first, truly inclusive experience when it comes to makeup. That when we treat our skin right, makeup is just there to enhance, for us to be playful, for us to celebrate, for us to learn. And when I thought about, well, it was the first time I've ever gotten to have a face of a campaign, so do not give up 23 years later. But I thought of like, who would my Rella muse be? Who really emulates joy, leans into sort of the 90s retro feel, but understands the importance of efficacious skincare and clean, inclusive makeup that is skincare infused. So she just literally was the first person that popped in my mind in a brainstorm. And, I wanted somebody who would be very collaborative too. So in the process of developing the products, our mutual makeup artist helped me develop these products because I wanted to work with a makeup artist, somebody who really truly knows skin and makeup. And so, yeah, it was just this sort of kismet energy situation, and she helped with the creative direction of the shoot. And if you haven't seen the assets, they're beautiful. But yeah, so there's much more to come. It's been a lot of fun to work with her.
Well, I know Michelle and Nyakio will be around, so those people, the questions we didn't get to, they'll be here. Thank you so much. We've been wanting to have this conversation with the both of you because we feel like the relationship sort of gets lost in the retail conversation sometime. And congratulations what you're building for indie beauty brands. It's so needed.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.